We're continuing now with Chapter 11 of Price Analysis, a fundamental approach to the study of commodity prices. Now, I've displayed here in Figure 3 the same information that we had displayed in Figure 2, but now as an XY scatter plot. So we have stocks to use on the x-axis, and we have dollars per bushel, and that's going to be the season average price per bushel that we would find as the last row in a WASD balance sheet. Displayed there in the y-axis. Now we can see a clear negative relationship emerge, but one thing that we might remember is that these extremely high values of stocks to use were primarily in the 1980s when we had a very different kind of government farm programs that were holding a lot of stocks. So we might want to separate out more recent time periods from more distant time periods to get a sense of what this relationship is looking like more recently. So in Figure 4 we've done that. We have plotted the dots in orange that represent 1975 to 2005, and then in blue you see the dots from 2006 to 2016. And one thing you notice straight away is that the 2006 to 2016 data represents data over much smaller stocks to use ranges and much more volatile prices. And that's compared to a much flatter relationship that we see prior to 2005, prior to 2006. So if you think about for a second what fundamentally has changed in a very large way since 2006, and of course again that has been the rapid ramp up in ethanol production. And since we've seen this very large and inelastic demander of corn for corn-based ethanol, it's not surprised to see that we haven't seen any extreme examples of stocks to use ratio, and we have seen fairly volatile prices in the events that we've gotten stocks to be around the 10% of stocks to use range. The other thing that we have here in Figure 4 is we have fitted some trend lines to the graph to see how tight this relationship is. Now it is a little bit apparent that the relationship seems to be not exactly linear. There's some nonlinearity there. So following the Farm Doc Daily article by Good and Irwin, we have employed a trend line that included the log of the x-axis and not just the level of the x-axis. And that produced some nonlinearity that we can exploit. When we do that, we get about 0.76 for an r-squared in the more recent period, and an r-squared of 0.21 in the earlier period. And of course, we're more interested in forecasting prices today rather than a while ago, so we're happy to see that we're getting a tighter fit in the more recent time period. So what does this say for taking a stocks to use kind of information we would glean from a WASD balance sheet and coming up with a season average price? Well, if you believe this trend line, then you would just go and compute what we expect the stocks to use to be for the current marketing year. At the time that I'm making this video, the current marketing year is the 2017-2018 marketing year. And we could come up with an expected stocks to use ratio for the end of this marketing year, plug it into this trend line, and find a reasonable expectation for price. So let's see if we can come up with an estimate given current data. I'm going to come over here and I've pulled up the most recent WASD. Let me scroll up here so you can see. This is the WASD report released in September of 2017. And I'm going to scroll down here to the corn table. We can just take this ending stocks number and divide by the total use number, and we'll get our stocks to use ratio. So if I come over here and take 2335 divided by 14250, these are in the same units, so I shouldn't need to do any conversion. Come over here to another browser tab, 2335 divided by 14250, we get a stocks to use ratio of just above 16%. So let's come over back to our graph and see what this estimate would look like. 16% would be about right here. We could do this much more carefully in an Excel spreadsheet. And this trend line would predict that we should be below $3 for a season average corn price. And of course, the current market prices are predicting much higher than that. Let's come over here to barchart.com And I've got here the corn futures forward curve, and we see that expected prices as of today for the next marketing year are well above $3. So we would have to say, okay, do we believe that this trend line is an accurate representation of reality? If so, then we should be expecting prices to fall significantly from what they currently are. However, we should be careful and note that we haven't seen any observations in this recent regime with prices below $3 by any appreciable amount. So we may want to take consideration into that when we're building our price forecast, and maybe we would be expecting that this year's realization would fall somewhere above this trend line. And we see, observations are routinely found on both sides of this trend line. So being off by as much as about right, a realization about right in here would not be unusual given the recent experiences we've seen in this market. So those are just some basic ideas about how we could take a number like ending stocks and other information from the balance sheet and try to produce an informed guess about what the prices should look like.